Hey everyone, it's Jarman XP here with a guide for Warlock on how you can get to the top of the leaderboard and get your Halo and title for the season. So a lot of people ask, what do I do to get to the top of the leaderboards? And what I'm going to do is walk through exactly what I did from the start of the season all the way through the end game and what you need to do as a Warlock to get to the top of the leaderboards. It's actually not too complicated. There's a few builds that can do it, but my specific build is a Lunatic Warlock. So what I'm going to do is just start off from the beginning. So Lunatic Warlock can be played basically the entire adventure. Start at level 1, start speccing into the ability of Command Fallen, and you can use that all the way through. The first 25 levels you do have to use a few other abilities like Bombardment or something like that to get through, but once you get to around level 25, the whole build is online. So no need to swap around anymore. You can do the exact build on the in-game all the way through. So I want to go over the abilities first, and then we can touch base on the step-by-step of the leveling and everything like that. And then once you hit level 70, what do you do after that? So the ability tree is right here. So we're going to first use Command Fallen, and we're going to get the lifetime damage and the damage per demon and Mega Lunatic variants. This will be your main ability for the entirety of your Lunatic Warlock playthrough. We're going to skip down to our next ability, which is Tortured Wretch. We're going to have the cost reduction, so it costs less to cast. And we're going to have duration, so it lasts longer when you kill things close to it, and punching bag. So this is really good because it will take damage away from you. It will absorb 30% of your maximum life before it's killed. So that's really good. It actually does damage when it's killed, and it also fortifies you. So this is a really good defensive option for Warlock because this build is going to be quite squishy as you move through the tower pushing. The next ability that you will want to have is Sigil of Summons. So there's a couple of things that this one does. It gives you the damage increase of 25% from your lesser demon skills. It does 25% damage or 25% increased damage, but it requires 25% more kills, so it takes more kills to activate. And then you'll want to summon Hellworm, so it takes 16 kills for that. So the biggest thing on this is the Hellworm will mimic the abilities that you do as well for your Command Fallen. So you're going to get like double the Command Fallen. So you'll want to have this activated all the time and make sure that this works. So when you're putting your sigils down, you want to put them in places where you can make sure that you're actually getting enemies in it and you're actually using the kills. If you're just placing it off in La La Land, you're not going to get any effect from this. So you got to make sure that you're using it because it is a huge damage increase to do that. You'll next get Metamorphosis. You'll get the damage scaling, where you get 1% extra damage for each 1,000 life, and y'all go over that more with stats about why that's important, but that's a huge damage increase for a defensive stat, so that's really good. You'll also get the cost reduction for dominance, so also it makes the Tortured Wretch cost less to do. And then you want to get the Destruction Demon. This is really big because you will stay in the, demon form the entire time. You will get the extra damage the entire time. You do have to activate it if you mount, and you do have to activate it if you leave towns, things like that. And then also if you get injured, it will go away. If you get injured, it's going to hurt your damage a lot. So you want to make sure that you're not getting injured while you have this as much as possible, so you don't have to reactivate it, because it has like a 15-second cooldown, something like that, whenever it goes away. Now you see I do have another ability here I'll go over in a second with Sigil of Subversion, because you don't use that in the normal build. You use that in the tower pushing build. What you will normally use in the regular build that you'll play are one of two abilities. You'll either use Rampage with the Demonic Smash, so you can leap around and jump around really fast, although when you have this unique Cage of Madness, you can turn into a Lunatic and you will run really fast anyway. Or you can get Nether Step. There's a damage reduction with it, and there's also A few abilities here, like Gloomwalker is really good if you're like fighting Mephisto or something like that. You just can't avoid the damage. You're not really worried about it. Hardcore maybe also use that. Then there's movement speed, lasts 50% longer. If you do that in conjunction with the Nether Step 60% damage reduction, they work together, so it lasts longer. You could go with the extra charge and the Gloomwalker if you're fighting a boss, in case, again, you're going to die and you want to do that. So I ran a lot with this, especially playing when I played hardcore last season, but this season I did some of this one, and then now I've just been running this to get the tower pushing. So the tower pushing Sigil of Subversion, essentially with the Calamity aspect, will give you a 100% crit rate as long as you have 40% or higher crit rate already built in. And then it will also slow enemies, it will trail out, and it will grab them if you choose this one, and it will pull the non-boss enemies back to the Sigil. So this is good with Sigil of Summons because you can put them together and they will bring the enemies back, and they will keep them in that Sigil, which allows you to get your Hellworm a lot better. It's really good in the tower if you want to do that. So that's an overview of the abilities that we have here. The skills for leveling, like I said, you will only swap out the Sigil of Subversion at the endgame version of this. So stats. So as far as stats go for this build, you'll use these stats all the way through to the end game, and then there will be a switch we'll talk about. So the main stats to focus on are vulnerable damage, physical damage or all damage, max life, willpower, and attack speed. Those are like the big ones. That's a lot of classes have those, but those are the big ones for this build. There is a breakpoint for attack speed, which is I think 35%. Once you have 35% baseline attack speed, you can, with aspects, you will be able to get to 100% attack speed. For your boots, you're going to want to get max life, all res, armor, and movement speed. Defensive slots, you'll want max life, all res, armor, willpower. Except for the legs, you want command fallen for the legs, so you can get more damage out of them. Your weapon will always be a two-hander. It will be with max life, physical damage, willpower, basic skills. That's the basic setup that we have for this build. Your aspects. So when you're leveling and you're getting your first paragons, and when I say leveling, I also mentioned like the early paragons, because the first 200 levels you're not going to be pushing the tower. You know, do you 250, you're not going to be pushing the tower. So when I say leveling, I'm talking about from 1 to all the way paragon 200, 250. So the first aspect that's really key you'll have on forever is Moonrise. That is going to give you, let me go back over here, that is going to give you 60% extra damage, and it's going to give you 20% attack speed and movement speed of 15%. So the big thing is, like I said earlier, if you're at 35% attack speed, you're going to get this 20, which is put you at 55. I failed to mention earlier on the skills, you also have your Summon Agram, which is the summon skill for this, which you will be using every 10 seconds or so, but has a 20-second uptime. This is what you will use to get extra damage, as well as get, you know, your buffs with your set. Your set piece goes with it. It's going to give you the extra damage. It's going to give you some extra, the lesser demons that are out, things like that. But it also gives you 25, let me go back over here to this, I believe. Yeah, right here. 25% attack speed, 20% cooldown for 20 seconds. So you'll have the 25% there, so that's another, you'll be at 80% essentially attack speed, and then when there's one aspect left of Rallying Reversal, that will give you the other 20%. So that's how you get to 100. So anyway, with the aspects, Moonrise will be your main one that you'll have on your rings for a long time. So the next, I say here that you can just kind of choose any offensive aspects for the other offensive ones while you're leveling until you get uniques. Edge Masters is good, Ocelots, Runic, things like that. Hellbent Commander on weapon. those are, I mean, those are all kind of interchangeable. You should get uniques fairly early in your Paragon journey, so you won't have too many of these other ones on there. But we'll go over the uniques in a minute, kind of go over what that's going to look like. Like I said, Hellbent Commander on the weapon, Heavenly Strength on your chest, because you're always wearing a two-hander, so you'll get 40% damage reduction from wearing a two-hander. The Juggernaut aspect on the pants until you get a unique T-Balt's Will, so that will give you the extra defense you need. And then your choice on helm until you shouldn't even have a helm very long into your journey. You should have the Cage of Madness as your first unique. So if you go get that helm, you won't have to worry about this. I just say put whatever aspect you want. If you need extra defense, put a defensive one. Go from there, just to get yourself set up on that. There's also the vulnerable one, I forget what it's called, the Vampiric Curse. You can put that one on there. And then Calamity, only after you get the Dirge and T-Balls, you'll put Calamity on your weapon, which will, or not Calamity on your weapon, Calamity on one of your rings, which is the one I was mentioning earlier. You get Hex from your Sigil of Subversion, which will then give you 20% crit strike chance. It does stack 3 times. It just stacks on them when they're standing in it. And so you'll get 100% crit rate, as long as you're at 40% going into it. So the unique order that you will have is Cage of Madness. This will be your first priority at level 70. So at that point, this will be the biggest damage increase. I don't think I have a standard one, but here's this. Mythic one, I think it's like 336% or 340. I think actually it's 340. For the standard one, it's 442 for the mythic, for the power that it has. This will give you the biggest increase in damage that you can get. It should be the number one thing you go for at 70 when you get there. As long as you have this, you will be powering through torment difficulties and no problem. So the next mythic, or not mythic, unique you want are Pain Gorger's Gauntlets. This allows your basic skill to do extra echoing damage to everything else when they're marked by non-basic skill damage. They'll get marked by your other abilities and followers out there, so you'll have a lot of that. You'll just be destroying people with AoE. The next one is the Seed of Horizon, which is the neck piece here. Now the cool thing on this neck piece is that it does 0.75% additional damage for each point of wrath you have. So you want to gain as much as your wrath. You don't ever use it in this build, so you want to gain as much wrath as you can. And think about this, I have 405. I'm going to do 0.75% damage for 405 wrath. Pretty good, right? So you definitely want to have that there for that damage increase. The next one you will then want to get are, let's see, back over here. So this is what I was getting to. These last couple of here, the Dirge of Odium and T-Balt's Will. So you do not, you actually should reverse this. T-Balt's Will should be first, then the Dirge of Odium. The reason is you can't really wear the Dirge of Odium until you have T-Balt's Will. The reason is that it takes wrath away from you 10% every second. So you will be running out of wrath. You won't have any, and you won't get the benefit of the weapon nor the amulet. So you want to have wrath, and you get 1% extra damage per wrath you have. Again, like the amulet, you go down here, it's 405%. So that's, again, a really, really, really good weapon. But you must have T-Balt's Will, because you need to be unstoppable to be able to get extra wrath. It's going to generate 50 primary resource upon being unstoppable and for 5 seconds after. And you get 20% damage on the defensive piece. Pretty nice. So you're always unstoppable in this build because of Sacrificial Fragment. You're always unstoppable. And as long as you're using the Summon Agrom. Also, your helmet makes you unstoppable when you turn into the Lunatic. Instead of evading, you turn into a Lunatic, run really fast, and you will get that and turn get the unstoppable and unhindered from that. I did mention another unique here, the Fleshwit Carapace. So this unique here is really good for pushing, but you will be extremely squishy when you're wearing this. This does give your sigil an extra 117% damage while it's active. And then you get to keep your unused kills until they, it says unused kills are saved while they expire. So, but the damage increase is what's big. So I did wear this during my push, but you do become extremely squishy because the only defensive piece I have is 40% damage reduction, and you lose that when you put this on. So huge issue there. And I guess I should have went over stats. I guess I did not mention this because it is only on the chest piece really here, and the helmet. You do want max resource on everything that can get it, except for, amulet's not as big of a deal, but you do want it on these two. So I did fail to mention that earlier in the guide when I was mentioning stats, but you do want to go ahead and get those. And I put that on that chest here as well. So those are the unique orders that you want, and you want to go for those. So what do you do when you get to 70? So the biggest thing I see from people, and I know people personally that have encountered this, they get the Torment 1, Torment 2, and they can't really get past it because they don't know what to do, they don't know what to go for. And I'm not assuming that everyone watching this video knows what to do. So when you get the Torment 1 with this build, even without the uniques, you should be able to tear the Torment 1 or 2 pretty easily. Maybe even Torment 3. There's not a lot to this build, it works. It does good damage even without a unique. So you'll want to go ahead and push to those torments really quick. You will want to focus on getting the Torment 3 or higher as quickly as possible. The main reason is when you're looking for your uniques, the bosses do drop them more often on the higher torments. So that's number one. Number two is that you can't really get your set pieces to drop very often until you're at least on Torment 3 or higher. So that's really why you want to get there, because the next objective will be getting your set piece. The set for this build is the Horizon Chain set. So this set right here is what really activates a lot of the extra abilities that you have beyond what the uniques are giving you that are going to really enhance it. So you get to summon all 4 of the Soul Shard demons at one time. So you get all active, you get the 25% movement and attack speed, you get the 10% damage per active greater demon from Agrom, you get execute on enemies from Lalish, and Valak gives you 50% dominance generation. The one cool thing also about Agroms I didn't mention earlier either was every tortured wretch you put out gives you an extra 10% damage. Now, I will caution with the Paragon board I choose that you don't want to spam that ability. There is an option other than that Paragon board that you can choose, but you're going to do less damage. But some people choose that because it's easier to manage at the higher difficulties when the Tortured Wretch is being blown up constantly from you getting hit, especially when you are not wearing the 40% damage reduction from Heavenly Strength. You do get 8.5% damage reduction for each Soul Shard Demon, so you're going to get 8.5 times the 4. Now again, it has diminishing returns because it's not 8.5, 8.5, 8.5, 8.5. Understand how damage reduction works. It's 8.5, and then it's 8.5% of that, and then it's 8.5% of that, and so on. So it's not a full on, what is that, 34% or something like that. It's more like 28 or 30 or something like that. When you get there. And then the 5 set is you gain all Soul Shard demons and deal 200% increased damage for 20 seconds after casting a Soul Shard demon. All Soul Shards cost 35% less. So the main thing is you get 200% damage for 20 seconds. It's always on. You just keep hitting that every time it's up. Every 10 seconds, hit it again. Just hit it again. It goes, and you're good to go. So you get the damage reduction, the extra damage, and you get all the Soul Shard demons every 10 seconds that this ability is there. So you want to get this set first. Your charm in the middle obviously is not going to be that big of a deal until you get a mythic charm. You do want to get a mythic charm at some point, or seal, I'm sorry, mythic seal at some point, because you do want to be able to wear this 2-piece bonus from the nameless set. The nameless set, it's a really big damage increase and damage reduction for you as well. This is why you can kind of get away without having heavily strength on, because as I said earlier, damage reduction, it does have some diminishing return. So if you have heavily strength, you have this, and you have the other set's bonus, you will run into some sort of where it's not worth as much to you anymore. So this set does help replace the 40% loss from heavenly strength. It's not completely replacing it, but it's there. But what it does is when you cast a sigil for 60 seconds, it starts, I think, at 100%, and it goes all the way up to 200% damage increase. So in that 60 seconds, it's ticking, it goes up, and you do a lot of extra damage. When it maxes out, you're at 200%, and then you get like 6 seconds of it at that, and then it starts over again every time you cast a sigil. The ritual is the next one. You get 20% damage reduction that intensifies with the ritual. It just keeps going up just like the damage does. And then at the 2 minutes or 60 seconds, I'm sorry, 1 minute, it caps out and you get a you're not taking much damage there for a little bit, and you're doing a lot of damage, and then it resets. So you will notice some spikes in your damage both doing it and taking it when you have this on. But it is a huge, again, damage increase up to 200% when it's at max. And I have noticed this on bosses, things like that. When you're hitting them, it just goes off, and it feels like you're doing a lot of damage when that's there. So you do want a mythic seal as quickly as possible to make this haul go online. But that's for the ultimate end game. Okay, so again, we're still working on what do you do from level 70. So you're going to want to, again, get the Torment 3 or above to start getting those set pieces. And then you will want to really start focusing on your uniques. If you haven't gotten a few already, you can do these kind of at the same time. You don't have to like do one or the other, but you want to get those higher torments going and then go get this Cage of Madness. The Cage of Madness is going to, you're going to jump torment levels just by putting that on damage wise. Now make sure you're getting your defenses in order, because you don't want to get blown up when you move up a few torment levels. But with the Cage of Madness, you can get this from Grigor. You can get this from the cube. So you can get a white item, upgrade it in the cube. Now you don't have a lot of those items early on. You don't have a lot to do that with, but it's worth gambling all of them if you have to get this helmet. And then also you can get farm layer keys, and you can get those from Hell Tides, especially with the Helmort perk here, which is let's go to Hell Tide. So this perk right here will these worms spawn, and I do have a video that you could watch for leveling with hellworms that will get you to 250 really fast or above, but this will give you a ton of keys in the process of doing it. You can get hundreds of keys leveling up very easily. So that's the number one way to get keys. If you have that perk pretty early on, get it. And then you can get it from Escalation Nightmare Dungeons. And if you're doing that, you also want to spec into this all the way down first, so you can get the extra choices on Nightmare Dungeons. And I'll go over some information on that too here in a second. And then you could also do mercenary bartering, so go get the boss summoning caches from the mercenary. You can get it through war plans with key caches, so if there's key rewards you can get them there. And so also in the season, there's typically these caches, things like that you can get every season when you do either the seasonal quest lines or you do the what do they call it? The challenges for the season here, this stuff here. So you can turn this stuff in, get lots of cash, you get a lot of keys, you have a chance at uniques. A lot of this stuff will actually drop uniques. So if you're just doing a lot of these as you go, make sure you do these and you go through your capstones and all this stuff early on, and you just push this thing up, because the quicker this goes up and you do these activities, then you'll get a ton of rewards that give you all kinds of gear that you're going to want for this build. So that's the ways you do it. So You want that because Grigor, here's the other good thing about Grigor. He has all of those, almost all the legendaries we talked, or uniques we talked about. So the Seed, the Pangorgers, Cage of Madness, all drop from him. The Dirge of Odium drops from Lord Zur, and T-Ball Twill doesn't drop. It's random. So you'll have to craft a T-Ball Twill. It's another one that you'll have to put in the cube, do the upgrades, and hope to get it. You can also gamble for it, and I've gotten a few through gambling. So there's a few options for it. So do what you feel you need to do there. But T-Ball Twill will be the one you have to gamble for. But these are all easy. 3 of them come from one boss. This one comes from Lord Zur, drops it all the time. And then T-Ball Twill will be the one that you have to do. But you can't wear this till you have this. So make sure you get Cage of Madness first. If you need T-Ball Twill, you can gamble for it after that. Go get these 2 from Grigor, just like you're getting this already. And then you'll probably get all these at the same time. And then you'll go get the Odium, and then just gamble till you get this. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is run your war plans over and over and over again. Focus Hell Times and Nightmare Dungeons, I think, the most beneficial. Although Curest can be okay if you're farming some things. You go over here and get the Pranksters, and then you can get this one for more experience. But I would say number 1's Helltide. I would use just do Helltide. You might even not do the war plan and level up first a little bit, and then do the war plans. But you want to max your war plans because you're going to get a lot. The main thing with war plans is materials. You want to get as much materials as you can, because the biggest thing I also see people do early on in the season is waste materials. Waste them. They try to craft things they shouldn't craft. They try to put stuff on things that they don't need. You're going to replace most of your gear with ancestral gear really early on, and then you're also going to get greater affixes that you're going to want to replace. I wouldn't waste a lot of time on normal legendaries, putting too much effort into it. Ancestrals, I would, but the biggest thing is they run out of crafting mats. They can't do anything. They get stuck. They feel like they're powerless. Don't do that. Just run your war plans, get tons of materials, level up with the Hellworms. Again, I have videos on that. You can do that all day, and you'll get tons of materials and boss keys. And then after you do that, you come back, you have all these things, you can craft whatever you want, you can go fight whatever bosses you want, and you're good from there. Only get the aspects you need. Don't try to get perfect rolls on the 850 gear. Don't mess with it. Don't waste your key on low-level layer bosses. One other thing I see people do is like, I'm going to go fight Grigor on Torment 1. He doesn't drop very many uniques on Torment 1, or 2, or 3. Like, it's based on your Torment level. So you need to push the Torment levels to get the uniques to drop more often. So if you're going to go farm them at low levels, come with a lot of keys. Don't go in there don't go in there with like a few keys. You'll be mad at yourself later. Once you hit around Torment 8 or higher, you can start focusing on ancestral gear, because that's when you can get your unique charms and continue to farm war plans. So unique charms are going to be big. Again, if you can't get a T-Ball Twill to drop, maybe you get a charm to drop. You can use that T-Ball Twill unique charm in there until you get a mythic charm or a mythic seal. You can also, if you get Rustbitten Dirk, very good against bosses. You can also get Godslayer Crown. You can get the Fleshwick Carapace and put that as your charm if you want. There's different things you can do there. So that charm slot's pretty open. I used a lot of different charms leveling and doing content. I would wear Godslayer and Pit and stuff, and then you wear Rustbitten and Tower early on. If bosses are tough, I always wear the Rustbitten on bosses. You will do 100% extra damage easy, no problem. Also, don't roll unique power, re-roll unique powers on weak uniques. Just kind of let them go. Like, don't get your 850 Cage of Madness and start re-rolling its power because it's a little low. Don't do that. Make sure that you have an actual ancestral piece of gear, because you don't get very many of those drops. So your in-game stats are going to change a little bit. You'll have to make some gear swaps at the end game. So you're going to swap out. You'll want to make sure that you get a baseline of 40% crit chance and 35% attack speed. Because, like I said, really early in this video, you'll get to 100% of both by using the aspect of Calamity, Moonrise, and Rallying Reversal on your gear. So that will help you get to 100%. One other aspect that I find very useful to put on your boot, actually you want this on your amulet, I have it backwards because I got this later. So this is the Fiendish Oppression, I believe. And the Fiendish Oppression, yeah, will give you 20% extra damage to crowd-controlled enemies. Note that your Sigil of Subversion always has them slowed. Also, it makes your Greater Demon knock down enemies for 5 seconds, which is a CC also, and a big damage saver. Guess what? Your Tortured Wretch is a Greater Demon. So, not only does it take damage for you, it also will stun enemies, knock them down, and you will get a 5-second duration of that, plus 20% extra damage during that time. And it works on bosses to help stun them more often because you're laying these Tortured Wretches down. Now you can't spam them there, but it will when it's time for them to get stunned, you will see them that happen to them. So the next thing you will do is main stat switch. Main stat switch here. So you'll still have vulnerable. You only need attack speed up to 35%. So I'll show you my gear in a second. You need crit chance up to 40. Physical all damage, max life and willpower, and still crit damage is your number one. So crit damage instead of like physical all, and then you need to get these other things. So the big thing here is if you look at my gear, I have crit strike chance, attack speed, vulnerable. I'm actually a little high on attack speed because of this ring. I already had it transfigured. I couldn't take the attack speed off. I wish I could have, because I'm a little high, but 50%. I would have rather have physical damage here instead. That would have given me a little bit more bump. Yeah, you have crit strike chance, vulnerable, physical. See, that would have done the same thing on the other ring. That would have been great. Your neck piece, crit strike damage is the best. Vulnerable, if you can get physical on it. I still have willpower. You do want to have enough willpower to get your final Paragon things, but overall I would have probably taken physical over that. Cage of Madness always comes with Command Fallen. You want to have the standard max resource, and max life would be more beneficial here than 787 fire resist. The chest piece, again, will have the 40% damage reduction. You can have max resource. You can have max life armor, all the defensive stats. Pain Gorgers. This is a great one here. It's giving me physical, crit, and vulnerable at high levels. Giving me attack speed, all those things. T-Bolt's Will, you'll want the Command Fallen on it. You gotta get lucky with that. Unless I got a pretty good roll here, but you don't always get all these defensive stats already, so I re-rolled it. And then boots, as we talked about, defensive stats, and then your weapon. You're gonna want crit strike damage instead of physical or all damage, and you're gonna want to get max life. I got lucky with a double roll there on the Transfigure. Once you're a high enough level, you'll just go farm Zur and just dump axes in there to see what you get. The runes that you'll wear primarily through your run will be Surlak for Challenging Shout and Nagu Q for the Earthen Bulwark. However, in the tower push, I do switch over to Ohm instead of Q, so you don't have the Earthen Bulwark, and you put that in to get 7.5% extra damage for the push. Again, you will be really squishy. Gem wise, you're going to want to put your sapphires. You have your skulls for physical damage. This can vary depending on your resistances. I have the physical resist, the ruby for fire, and the topaz for lightning. However, you can switch those around as needed. Some people put poison if they need it. It's very just depending on your defenses. It's a very squishy belt. I don't have very good resistances here. Some of my rolls could have been better on that. The next part we will go over is mercenaries. You want Ray here and Aldkin. So the main thing with them is that you'll just take the build to get more resist and stay alive type stuff. And then the same thing here on the other one. Mercenaries. Yeah, this is fiendish build of languish, and then just any ability there. So you're good to go on that one. The mercenaries are pretty simple, I think, overall. Paragon. So the biggest thing on Paragon, there's a couple of options here. I think this is the biggest damage one, but there could be more. You know, if you're dying a lot or you're having a hard time, there's a switch you can do. So you're going to use the Demonology or Vanguard. I'm sorry here. You could use the Ichor Carapace if you're lacking some defense early on, but you want to switch to Vanguard if you're pushing. You'll want to then use the Demonic Spicules with Death Aura for 40% extra resist. So you try to get as much resist. It's additive there, but still, we want it. The next board, we want to use Fathomless with Demonologist. The Fathomless is going to give you a lot of extra damage, up to 105%. Each demon you've summoned in the last 20 seconds. You're summoning demons all the time in this build. This one right here, this one increases your damage by 40% and gaining 2% per hit up to 20%. Damaging enemy with Demonology skill, which is what you're doing again all the time. Over here you've got Dominion. Now, part of this doesn't really affect us. It's going to give us the Wrath cost difference, but the 80% damage for 20 seconds is pretty big. So you take that one along with the Eliminator glyph. And then here, this is the one that's a little iffy on some people. So Dynamism is really good because it's going to give you the biggest damage for your buck. It's going to give you 3% for every point of dominance you currently have. Currently is the big word there. So when I said earlier, if you have Tortured Wretch and you're spamming Tortured Wretch, you're going to lose damage a lot, and it's not going to work for you. So you want to be able to put it down, use it, know when to put it down again, kind of don't spam it. Some people want to use, I think, the there's a board, Greater Hex, or God, I can't remember the other board. There's another board that does, I think it's Ritualist, and they do a lot of damage as well. Greater Hex is good because it reduces damage enemies do to you. The other one, Ritualist, does just more damage. I think it's 90% damage, so it's more steady. So the top end isn't as high, but the bottom end isn't as low. On that, you'll want to use Eldritch Sight for the glyph in this one as well, because it does a bunch of extra vulnerable damage. But if you can't help but spam Tortured Wretch, you're going to have to go with one of the other ones for your damage, because right now I have 51 dominance. That's 153% extra damage. It's a lot more than 90, but if I spam this all the time, it could be a lot less than 90. So that's overall the gist of this build. And when you're playing it, you're just putting down your glyphs or your sigils, putting down your Tortured Wretch, hitting your demon, and making sure that you move around as needed, and you just spam, hold down this Command Fallen, and you just blow people up. So I hope that this guide helps some of you get to the end game and push in the tower and get to your title. I got the champion of the tower for being the top 5. I think top 10 gets 1. I got the 136, and I mean, it wasn't far off of 138, so I pushed hard. I just, didn't make it this time, and hopefully I get some mythics and able to push it higher. But I hope that everyone else can push and get what you need, and hopefully this helps you get to where you want to go. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. I'm producing more content like this for you to help you guys get to the end game and be able to blast like you're experts at the game. So I thank you very much for watching, and you all have a wonderful day.